Video game stores can be a whole lot of fun to go to. Whether you're looking for a piece of nostalgia, maybe you're just browsing around just to feel like a kid again, or maybe you're looking for a brand new console. Many of us have been to a video game store once or twice or many times in our lives. And I bet many of you are like me and you had very unmemorable times. Even if you bought a new console, can you really remember going and doing that? Well, today, Jeff, am going to take you on a tour all across America to different video game stores. And we're going to read about some people's very memorable times in the form of 1-star reviews. So without further ado, drop a like if you want to, and let's get into it. Our first stop on our video game tour all across the country is in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, at the High Score Video Game Store. This store has a 4.3 rating on 427 reviews. The city of Eden Prairie has a population of 64,198 people. Your quick Eden Prairie fun fact is that CEO and co-founder of Roblox, David Baszucki, known as Builderman in game, went to Eden Prairie High School where he was the captain of the TV quiz team. So with all of that in mind, let's go read some 1-star game store reviews. First up to put Minnesota Nice to the test is Alex.
Terrible experience.
Went in about a month and a half ago to trade in some of my TCG cards for cash. Had to wait over an hour just for a completely lowball offer. Worst part is that I desperately needed a new PS5 controller for which they charged $70 for a used one that is already starting to break. Completely ridiculous. Will never be going back. I'm a little confused by this one. They desperately needed a new PS5 controller and they charged $70 for a used one when I just looked up PS5 controllers and they're $80 new. So for $10 extra you could have had a brand new controller, but instead you have a used one that's already breaking. I'm so confused by people, but I love it. Next up for high score is Cade. There are no prices on anything. Cashier looks up. Price at register to give prices which are 2 to 3 times as expensive as other retail outlets. Would not recommend if you can find the games you desire elsewhere. Shady at worst, unethical at best. The prices not being on anything is so shady because then people are going to look up the price and try to get every little dollar out of just try to squeeze you. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, squeeze you for your money. Up third for Eden Prairie is Dylan.
Nothing is priced.
So I'm guessing anytime you want to check something, you need to ask. Problem with this is there's only one person working the counter and tons of people waiting in line forever. I just left as I don't need that games that bad. When a store doesn't have items priced, they're going to high dollar you on every item. The only time not having price tags on anything flies is if you show up way too early to like a garage sale or a thrift sale. Besides that, everything should be priced or else I'm going to feel like I'm being scammed. And you know what happens then? They're going to try to squeeze you, try to squeeze all the money out of you. Oh yeah! Let's see how unlucky Logan was with his high score video game store visit.
Never shopping again.
They used to have alright prices a few years ago, but they've upped that substantially since the last time I was there. I went in and wanted to purchase a Magnavox Odyssey 2. I've seen this thing since the first time I've been there in the old location and it hasn't sold. eBay has some in box for $70, but they wanted $200 for a loose console. Oh man, wow. Logan had such a bad experience, he's never shopping anywhere ever again. This place ruined shopping in general for Logan. That's just terrible. Let's see what went wrong for Joshua. Closed during regular business hours with no warning or note.
Bed's empty, no note.
Places like this are why it's hard for video game stores to have a good name. Wasted time to drive here for nothing. Alright, I'm going to need a little help with this one. Do video game stores frequently close for no apparent reason all across the country to the point it gives them a bad name? Because I don't know that. Mine doesn't close randomly, so please let me know. I personally think Joshua is just a little bit salty about having to drive to a store that was closed, and we've all been there once or twice, or 3 or 4 or 5 times. Stop number 2 on our video game tour is at Games Galore in Jacksonville,
Florida.
This store has a 4.3 rating on 420 reviews. Jacksonville has a population of 949,611 people, which is pretty crazy because Jacksonville is the largest city by area in the United States, covering approximately 900 square miles. So with all of that in mind, let's go read some video game reviews. Let's get games galore started with Violets. My BF went to see if the PS2 and PS3 I had were worth any value, got laughed at and told they were dusty, and not the right kind, and some other geek language was said. No customer service / conversation skills. I can see why the store is empty.
Update.
Called up there.
I don't know about laughed at.
Was their response when I referred to the treatment my friend experienced. He then said he worked there for 16 years.
IDK.
Anyone professional who responds like that or thinks of that as a response. No conversation skills. Couldn't really explain the reason why they couldn't buy the PlayStations without using their jargon. And most professionals will apologize for experience. But all he did was double down and still not make any sense. What do you guys think the reason is that they couldn't take the PS2 and PS3? And what jargon did they use? Is it like not a backwards compatible PS3? Is the PS2 that dusty? This one's a confusing one. Next review from this Florida game store comes from Branson. Bought 8 games from the store last week, spending over $50, and every single game did not work. Thanks to their
No refund
policy, I am now stuck with games that don't work and I feel so cheated. Please do your research when shopping. This is really scummy, especially if you're selling used video games on discs.
Personal Jeff story.
So where I live, there's only like one non-GameStop video game store, and I bought a few used games there myself, especially on disc because I love the PS2. And there's been a couple of times where they've looked at the disc and seen it's a little bit scratched up, and they've run it through their disc resurfacer for free. Now that's a lot better customer service than this. The next review is from John. Called to ask for information was treated with total disdain, as if I were foolish for asking the questions.
Edit. For context.
I was just asking if it were possible to bring out old things, console, game, in to sell, and the person on the phone was rude and dismissive. I ended the call on a much ruder note, so I guess it's probably mostly on me at this point, but that doesn't really negate the initial experience I had. I was treated like, how dare I even call to ask? I bet it's a great store if you want to buy something from them, but I'm not gonna know, BC. I was treated poorly for asking a question.
Not going to check.
Whoa guys, this is a pretty rare review, where the person leaving the review actually admitted to being rude on the phone too, but I guess they were met with a dismissive response. I think some people call a place expecting to get a response, and when they're met with the opposite response, they don't know what to do and they get angry. I'm not too sure, but let's move on to the next review. And that review comes from Edward. Were you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
That's gotta be a home run, right? Edward's very fast.
I was a team neither. If you are trading,
do not come here.
I try to trade in 9 PS4 and PS5 games that I don't really play anymore, including some games that are still in stores for 30 to 40 a piece. This dude gonna look at me and say 40 for all of them. I just picked them up and walked out.
This place is a ripoff.
I honestly don't blame Edward at all for picking his games up and walking out, because that's only $4.44 a game. I think you can make more money going to your local high school and just selling them on the street corner, but make sure you're off school property. The next Games Galore review comes from Rusty Shackelford.
Rusty Shackelford.
Sold me a Black Label case with the greatest hits game. Employees at a game store should have enough basic knowledge to know the difference and know Black Labels are more expensive and sought after. Checked when I got in my car trying to return and door was locked. Please don't spend any money here. Most of their games are overpriced and behind the counter when you have to zoom in on your phone to see them. Customer service is just as bad. Rude and short replies from an employee that was annoyed and would rather be somewhere else. Told myself last time I wouldn't be back, but this is what I get for not listening, I suppose. That's a very sneaky way to scam someone who wasn't really paying attention by sneaking in a greatest hits into a normal game case. That's very scummy. Scammy. Let's go to the next gaming store. Hey, it's Jeff here, just sneaking in to say, make sure you leave a like if you haven't and subscribe for more. Most of my viewers aren't subscribed, and I'd like to turn that around. Alright, back to the reviews. Our next stop is at the
Game Over Video Game Store
in Tacoma, Washington. This store has a 4.3 rating on 307 reviews. The population in Tacoma is 219,346 people. Your fun fact about Tacoma, Washington is that Ted Bundy spent early part of his life here in Tacoma. If you don't know who Ted Bundy is, look him up and make sure you're not on your work Wi-Fi. So with all of that in mind, let's go read some video game reviews. First up for Game Over Video Games was Chris Was Here. Or is it Chris Wash-er? I'm not sure. So my wife and I went in here, as we usually do when we head out to the mall, but today, there was a guy in there, and he said, "Hi," super uncomfortably, and the horrible music he was listening to was blasting super loud, and I left because it was so horrible. Oh man, to me it sounds like Chris was here just to be super judgmental and mean to the person working. How can you say hi super uncomfortably? Next up for Washington is Alexis. If it was more than one, that'd be Alexi. Haha, oh. I think this place needs to focus better on their customer service. I've been here a few times, and on this occasion I ended up having some questions for the employees in which I received a rather rude response. I would like to shop a game store where me and my questions feel welcomed. This store is not the place. I wonder if some of these people are confusing rudeness with social awkwardness. Next up is the bare minimum grade you need to pass most classes in America. It's C-. Had one negative experience with an employee here. One was enough. Love the product, but as a result of one interaction, I shop with other stores more out of my way. Long story short, some folks should not be in customer service. Oh geez, how bad was that one experience to make this happen? Not bad enough to leave any specifics, but bad enough for them to go out of the way to shop other places. I love it. This next Tacoma review comes from Bryce. I see why they call it Game Over. Game over experience for everyone involved, including their employees. They have no clue how to operate a business or treat their employees or customers. Avoid this place and shop elsewhere. A small business nearby where people are treated with at least some dignity and respect, supporting local people too. Ooh yeah, I always love a review with some snarkiness. Thanks Bryce for that. Yeah, try to shop your local stores instead of big chains if you can. Next review comes from Yesa. Oh wait, sorry, it's actually from Noah. Bought multiple different things for my Xbox 360 from here, and all of it was broken. When I asked to test it in store after coming in for the third time, I was told, no, trust us, it works. Lo and behold, I get home and it doesn't work. Overpaid for a new Xbox 360, get it home and surprise, surprise! It doesn't work. And their return policy is garbage. They refuse to give you money back, only store credit. If you want to buy broken stuff, go there. But I will not be returning. I'd rather go spend my money on Facebook Marketplace. Well, first of all, the saying isn't lo and behold, it's lo and behold, L-O and behold. The next thing, it's pretty sad that you have to trust Facebook Marketplace more than a video game store. It used to be the other way around. You'd go to a store and you would trust that they at least tested the products. How can they not test it at least?
I bet they're buying broken stuff and just trying to get rid of it.
Our next stop takes us to the northeast tip of America, to Farmington, Maine. And we're going to visit the 3D Game Store. This store has a 4.5 rating on 235 reviews. A fun fact about Farmington is that it's known as the earmuff capital of the world. Chester Greenwood invented the earmuff, and they celebrate Chester Greenwood Day, where everyone parades around wearing earmuffs. Now if that isn't a fun fact, then I don't know what is. So with all of that in mind, let's go read some video game reviews. First up in Farmington is Gary. Sounds like a farmer name. Poor customer service. Wasn't willing to do anything for a customer who just spent $500+ in the store one day prior, after a misunderstanding took place and left me hanging. Sadly, won't ever go back. Too bad, because I really like supporting small businesses in my hometown. Associate called me a liar multiple times and did nothing to make the situation right, after saying that Microsoft is the one who governs their policies. Alright, Jeff fans out there, this is where I need your help. What do you think happened to Gary? He spent $500 5 years ago, so around 2019, and for some reason Microsoft is involved and can dictate the policy? I'm confused, so leave your theories down below. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say, but let's move on to Keela's review. Overpaid for single cards will not come back. If you get singles, make sure you have them write down every single card price. I went home and realized I spent $40 more than I was supposed to. They use an app to take pictures of the cards and they get the prices wrong. If this is true and they were overcharged $40, that's really scummy and scammy. Next up for Maine is Heather. Took my son in for a Commander tournament and was informed there was budget restrictions for building a deck. When I asked about how my son would be able to play, the person told me I would have to buy cards to bring his deck down to the budget. This store also has the worst single selection in Maine, so there was no point in trying to change out his deck for the tournament. I'll just keep taking him to other places to play from now on. So I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to this trading card game stuff. I collect Pokemon and baseball cards. Well, I haven't in years, but that's what I grew up doing. And I never really got into playing like the actual Pokemon game. I just collected cool cards and the cards I liked from playing the games. So I don't really understand this. I do understand the budget restrictions, but how do you base the price of the cards by like price charting or something? This is all uncharted territory for me. The next review is from James, and it brings us back to the video games. That rhymed. Bought $25 to $30 on pre-owned PS4 games from them barely a couple months ago. Was guaranteed by the clerk that if they didn't work to just bring them back. Popped in the order a couple weeks ago and the disc wouldn't run. Returned to the store the next day, receipt in hand, and asked for a refund, but they refused. I asked to speak to a manager. Clerk did not suggest it. And the clerk placed a mobile call to someone on his personal cell. Then he told me the manager was unavailable, but I could come in some other time when he was there. He offered me half the money I spend on the game in store credit, as if I'm going to be inclined to involve myself in any further merch from them after this hassle. Good thing I hadn't spent much in the first place. Lousy, untrustworthy customer service. Looks like the same exact thing happened to another customer, Adam. 9 months ago, having read reviews. Will not be buying anything from them again or recommending them. I can understand the pressures of being a small business, but seriously, you're gonna offend a first-time customer over a $10 game and lose my business thereafter? Not smart. We'll order through Amazon or Walmart instead. It costs a lot more than $10 to acquire a customer, I can tell you that, especially for a video game store. If someone's not going to go there, they're just going to go online or to some other store or a pawn shop. Up next is Stage 2 Games in Cabot, Arkansas. This store has a 4.7 rating on 227 reviews. The city of Cabot has a population of 26,569. A quick fun fact about this city is that Terry Britt, Miss USA from 1982, was from here. Let's go dive into those 1-star reviews. Up first for Stage 2 is Donnie. Poor attitude from the salesman. Seemed unhappy with my children being in his store, and offended that I have never noticed the store before. Kids can be a wild card in retail. Are they going to be nice kids, or are they going to touch everything and move things around? And also being offended that someone's never noticed your store before. It should be the other way around. Be like, oh, thanks for checking us out. Thanks for stopping in. Weird. But hey, let's see if this trend continues. The second review for Stage 2 comes from Eric. Went there to look around. When arrived, staff was busy chit-chatting with each other. On top of that, asked if they could check and see if they have Mega Man Legends 2. And got told it's the same game as the 64. Brought Need for Speed Most Wanted. Case up, it was checked out after they ran my card. I was told they could not find the game. Finally, bought a controller from them that I was informed was a PS2 controller to find out it was a PS1 DualShock 1 controller, not a PS2 controller. I am highly dissatisfied with the lack of knowledge from the staff, but how unreliable they were on informing customers on products. Eric was set off from the second he walked in and saw the staff chit-chatting with each other. And then after that he gets bamboozled with the old PS2, PS1 controller switcheroo. That would leave me highly dissatisfied. The next Arkansas review comes from Cody. Why did you open this place back up? I remember when they used to be awesome and had really anything you was looking for. Now their store is the size of a public bathroom with no room to walk around with what little stuff they have. Very disappointing store. This place died a long time ago, and they found a pet cemetery to bury it in. Do not go here. Oh, BTW. The parking lot is just asking for your car to get bumped into or your door's hit by another car. Lore update. Looks like the store was closed down at some point and then opened up into a smaller space. Seems a little bit strange, but I love a good lore update. Let's keep reading. And the next review comes from JD. Poor customer service. Store is dead. Besides for MTG. Unless that's why you're going there, it's a waste of time. Hey, I do know that MTG stands for Magic the Gathering, so if you're into that, the store is for you, and if you're not, well, join me and let's head to the next store. Next up, we're gonna head to Ben's Game Zone in Ralston, Nebraska. This place has a 4.9 rating on 1,050 reviews. Almost perfect rating? How could there be 1-star reviews? The city of Ralston is a suburb of Omaha, but it still only has a population of 6,494 people. A quick fact about Ralston is that in 1934, a fire destroyed half the city block. The city afterwards declared bankruptcy, and it was one of the first times a city in the United States did so. So with all of that in mind and that 4.9 rating, let's go read those 1-star reviews. The first review for Ben's Game Zone is from James. Not good business practices at all. My friend and I were excited to go in for the 3DS sale and to look at Pokemon games. When we got to the counter, a random dude grabbed every single Pokemon game copy and went to check out. He was a clear scalper that was only there to resell the games. The horrible part is that Ben's Game Zone allowed and encouraged the scalper to do that. Listen, I'm all for making money by doing business, but this is supposed to be a family/community store that doesn't cater to the capitalist style of business. There should be a limit on how many of a single item one person can buy so that other customers can enjoy the merchandise too. The fact that they condone scalpers and encourage them is repulsive. I'll never shop here again. Update! I attempted to reach out the store via Facebook, but instead of addressing the concerns, they immediately blocked me. Great customer service, not. I'm sure Ben's Game Store enjoys the giant large sale all-in-one, but yeah, that is a little bit scummy because then it discourages other people from coming back to your store and shop multiple times, so in the long run you might lose money, at least to Jeff's theory, which is probably wrong because I didn't go to business school. Haha! The next Nebraska review comes from Connor. Went there and saw a green N64 on the sales floor, asked how much it was, and the lady said she didn't know and she can't sell it to you because of that reason. Then complained about how Ben always puts stuff on the floor without a price tag so they can't sell it. I asked if she could call someone to find out how much it was so I could buy it, and she said no, but then decided to call her child and lecture her child on tardiness on the sales floor. Probably won't be back. The lady working there never said the phone didn't work. She just said she wouldn't call anybody. Let's see what happened at Ben's for Anthony. Very rude. And the lady that was working there was talking loud. Do you guys think Anthony ran into the same lady that called her daughter to lecture her daughter about being tardy and did it very loudly? I don't know, because Anthony left a very vague review. Let's keep reading. I can't put my finger on it, but there's just something about this Mary. It's unfortunate that I have to give this review. Last year, probably in September, I came to buy 2 used PS4 controllers. They were fine at first, but after the 30-day mark, they had major issues. One controller can't run, jump, shoot, aim, etc. The other one I'm able to moderately use. I can't run at all. Now I know I'm not buying anything used from this place again. When it comes to video game controllers, I personally would spend that extra $20 to $30 to go from the used tier to the new tier of controllers. That way you know you're buying something that doesn't have like 100+ hours built into it, because you never know with those used controllers or used items in general. Besides games, games are usually a pretty safe bet. Next up is the start of one of my favorite childhood video games. It's CJ.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Went to GameStop after and everything was a few bucks less, and the 2 games I told didn't exist for under $30 were at GameStop for $15. No discount or promo or anything. Come on, guys. Well, of course, CJ, they're going to tell you that. They are trying to make a sale, aren't they? And with that, you made it to the end of the video. Make sure to leave a like if you haven't, subscribe for more, and watch this video on screen if you haven't, because YouTube thinks you'll like it, and I like you. Until next time, bye!